Hey y'all, it's your Missniecytv, and I'm here to do a review for Divorce Sistas Season 1, Episode 9. So the episode picks up, and the doctor is basically telling William and Geneva that Anika is not William's child because her blood types doesn't match, and Geneva has to be the one to give the blood. Geneva's standing there like a deer in headlights, like she don't know what's going on. She's trying to sit there and still lie, and she's like, there has to be some type of mix-up. Something is wrong. So Geneva goes back to give blood, right? And while she's back there, she's talking to the doctor. She's basically saying there has to be some type of mix-up. The doctor's like, well, no, because the IVF journey was just your egg in William's sperm. Geneva's sitting there bawling her eyes out like she doesn't know what's wrong. And she's basically like, so William is not her father? Duh, Geneva. You were sitting there busting it open for Javon. What was you expecting to happen? Geneva has the audacity to turn around and say, give me some time. Tell him that there was a mix-up with the IVF. The doctor's like, no, I'm not going to do that because he's a professor. He's very smart. He's going to... In so many words, the doctor said, I can't keep lying for you. You have to tell William the truth. Geneva, honestly, there's no point in lying no more. Just tell the man the truth. He already knows that he's not Anika's father. So the only part that you need to tell him is who Anika's father actually is. And that might be the part that might break him down. But at least you told him the truth. Over at the other end of the hospital, we see Franklin in there with his wife. One that got burnt with coffee by Naomi, and she's still laying in the bed flipped over like, I know coffee didn't do that much damage to her, but alright. Raisin comes in, and that's the son that Naomi has with Franklin, and they have a conversation. He's basically like, I'll talk to Mom, I'll try to get through to her, and Franklin's like, there's no way you can do that, there's no talking to her, I'm gonna press charges, and she's gonna pay for what she did. Franklin tries to go back and forth with him about it, and eventually Franklin agrees, because I think he just wants Grayson to shut up, and then that's when Grayson's girlfriend speaks up, and her name is Frances, and she's like, I'm a psych major, I'll try to talk to her. And Franklin's like, there's not much that you can do. Naomi has made up her mind that she hates Franklin, and she dislikes everybody that's associated with him. So if you try to talk to her, it ain't gonna work. That's like beating a dead horse. Naomi truly needs to get help and work through her trauma that she's going through, because lashing out on everybody and harming people is not a way to cope with your trauma. And over at Bridget, we see her coming back in from the church, and she's taking her shoes off, and while she's doing that, she hears a noise in her house. So she grabs a bat. The person is still making noise, and she's like, I have a gun. So we all know that voice. That voice is Vaughn. He's like, Bridget, don't shoot me, it's me, it's me. Bridget's like, what are you doing here? Why are you even in my house? Bridget basically tells Ron that you shouldn't have no business lying to me, saying that you were going to unalive yourself. Ron was like, I was actually going to do it. Vaughn, I don't think you actually were. You just wanted to get some attention from... Vaughn made it up in his mind, since Bridget was going to break up with him, he wanted to get some attention and sympathy and make her basically feel guilty. So he said that he was going to unalive himself, all for attention. But as Bridget keep telling Ron to get out, we can see that he's basically running her down, and she really still loves this boy and really cares about him. And Bridget keeps telling Ron to get out. She's like, get out, get out. Vaughn is like, so you really gonna put me out there looking for me? Bridget's like, I don't care. Before Vaughn actually does leave, right, he lets Bridget know that Calvin actually really does like her because he has a picture of her in his locker. Bridget's like, I don't know what you're talking about. That man is married. Bridget, a blind man can see that Calvin has feelings for you the same way that we saw that Myron has feelings for Pastor Jack. Back over at the hospital, we see William and Geneva talking, and William is basically asking for updates on Anika and how she's doing, and Geneva tries to play like everything's okay, and basically William tells Geneva that they're going to give Anika the blood transfusion, and if everything goes well, they can take her home at night, and William is like, that's good. Geneva basically tells William that they need to talk, and William is like, yeah, I think we do. So Geneva sits down, and she basically gives him the same old sob story about the IVF being mixed up, and there's a mix-up with the sperm, and how they should sue the hospital because it's not right. They really got it wrong. And I'm like, Geneva, you're willing to lose money and lie on a hospital and cause them a lawsuit of malpractice because you just don't want to live in your truth until William knows that she's lying, so he basically insinuates that she's basically slept with somebody else. And Geneva's like, don't turn this around on me because Anika told me the other day that she saw you with some pretty lady, and I saw you too. William is like, what are you talking about? I would never do that. Over at Rashida and Pastor Jeff's house, their daughter Kelly calls Pastor Jeff, and she basically lets him know everything that happened with Laz. Laz basically tried to rough Rashida up after she caught him stealing money out of Pastor Jeff's drawer. There's no way that Rashida is still able to gentle parent Laz after him doing it. If he had an old school parent, that would have ended up a totally different way. So basically, when Pastor Jeff gets off the phone with Kelly, they basically agree not to say nothing. Kelly does tell Pastor Jeff where Laz hangs out at and who he hangs out with. So once he gets off the phone with Kelly, he tells his phone to give him Laz's exact location so that he could pull up. Then we see Tiffany and Javon having their date, drinking. They're talking about everything that went on with Anika. Tiffany basically tells Javon that she's going to keep her phone out on the table just in case anything happens and they get a call. Javon is like, I can see that you really care about them. Tiffany's like, yeah, I do. Then they start doing all the first date questions, like how many siblings do you have? Are you close with your parents? Tell me about yourself. And then we find out that Tiffany grew up on a farm in Indiana, and Javon has a brother who has 8 kids. We find out that Javon is 45 and Tiffany is 45, and Tiffany's ex-husband was a bartender, and she was paying all the bills. Tiffany, I don't understand how somebody of your caliber got with a bartender, but okay. Then the conversation switches to them talking about kids. Tiffany lets Javon know that she has a son and he's about 20 years older. Javon lets her know that he has 2 kids and one of the kids is with their mom. Javon's already claiming Anika as his because he already knows the truth. He's just waiting for Geneva to tell William. Javon basically lets Tiffany know that he doesn't hate his ex anymore, and she basically taught him a lot of lessons. And Tiffany's like, can you teach me that? And she's like, here's to dealing with no BS anymore. Javon is like, well, as long as 2 people are around, there's always going to be some BS. Tiffany's like, are you hiding something? Javon is like, no. Tiffany, he's hiding 2 major secrets from you. The fact that he's in love with your best friend and your best friend's child is his child. Back over at Pastor Jeff and Rashida's, Laz is still disrespecting Rashida, and all Rashida can say is wait till your father gets home. I just don't see how Rashida is still gentle parenting Laz, but Laz doesn't like the fact that he's getting in trouble too, so he basically tells on Kelly, saying that she's getting down to business with 2 different. Eventually, we see Pastor Jeff pull up to where Laz is supposed to be. He asked where Laz was. They basically tell him that Laz isn't there, but my thing is, Pastor Jeff, why would you roll up in the hood with a Rolls Royce and a suit on, nigga? What is wrong with you? So the guys reiterate that Laz isn't there, and that's when Pastor Jeff gets a call from Kelly, and Kelly tells Pastor Jeff that Laz is home. So as Pastor Jeff is trying to leave, the guys basically try to rough him up for his car. One of the guys is like, why is there a Bible in your car? Are you a pastor or something? Pastor Jeff is like, I actually am, and then he quotes the scripture of, God doesn't give us a spirit of... The guy literally tries to get in Pastor Jeff's car. Pastor Jeff wasn't having that, so he basically tells the guy to get out of the car. The guy, of course, doesn't listen to anything that Pastor Jeff says, so the only way to intimidate Pastor Jeff is to pull out the blick, right? But Pastor Jeff ain't scared of it. Pastor Jeff ends up getting into an altercation with the guy. Pastor Jeff ends up basically winning the altercation. Pastor Jeff gets the gun, and as Pastor Jeff and the guy are tussling, right? The guy is telling the other people to shoot at Pastor Jeff, and they ain't doing it. This is how you can tell they really ain't hood for real, because it would have went a totally different way if this was some other true hood people. Back over at the hospital, we see William talking to the doctor, and he's basically questioning the doctor, like, how could something be wrong? I don't really want to see you, so tell me the truth. Is there something wrong? The doctor is like, I think you should talk to the Geneva. That right there should tell you the truth, that she knows something, but she can't tell you. So over in Anika's hospital room, Geneva and William are basically going back and forth. William's like, so you just want to sit there and lie to me? William is like, if you want to continue to lie, you can leave and all this other stuff. So they're arguing back and forth in front of the baby. Geneva's like, let's not do this. Let's just be here for our daughter. And William is like, you want to say our daughter now? William starts listing all the things that he says he does for Anika, and Geneva's like, you only do that because your schedule is more free. William is like, okay, if you want to sit there and continue to lie to yourself. But there's no way in the world that I would leave my daughter as a mother when she's in the hospital. I would tell William that. Oh, William does tell Geneva that he's going to find out who the man is. And William, once you found out, I hope you don't go to jail for hurting him. Can I say, I feel like William didn't crash out enough for me. He let Geneva off too easy, because she would have got cussed out from here to Zimbabwe. Then we see Javon has brought Tiffany home because they agreed on it after that one drink at the date. He said, after this drink, I'm going to take you home. And Tiffany's like, okay, but Tiffany's literally sitting in the car talking to herself, talking to Javon, like, I don't know if I should do this because I don't trust me or my body right now. And she basically wants to get down with the man, but she don't want to seem too easy or anything. But Javon basically tells her that they're grown and they can do whatever they want to do. So they both agreed to go inside the house and have a drink and talk. But eventually, that turns into them both getting down. Tiffany's gonna fall deeper for the man now that she got down to business with the man and see what. Over at Naomi's, Grayson finally comes over there to talk to her, and she's basically not trying to listen to anything that he's saying because she feels like Franklin put him up to do it and all this other stuff, and Franklin's getting into Grayson's head, and Grayson's like, I'm not against neither one of you. I just want to see y'all be alright. And then Naomi's like, why aren't you on my side? Why aren't you listening to the things that he did to me? Then Naomi goes on to say how Lindsay took Franklin from her, and Grayson's like, if you want me to be honest, the marriage was already over before Franklin came into the picture. Naomi's like, how you figure that? Grayson's like, because I seen it. So Naomi's going on and on and on about Franklin and how he treated her so bad and how Grayson is taking up for Franklin and all this other stuff. And that's when Grayson's girlfriend comes in, Frances, and she tries to talk to Naomi, but of course Naomi's not trying to hear her because she's white, and Naomi has this thing against white women now since Lindsay's white. Naomi feels that Lindsay took Franklin from her, and now every white woman is bad, and now she's telling Frances that she only wants Grayson because Grayson's black and he's rich and he can basically do anything. Naomi truly needs help, and she won't be happy with herself until she gets that help. And I hope she gets that help immediately because she's going down a path of destruction. Back over at Pastor Jeff and Rashida's, Geneva pulls up and she's sitting in their driveway and she's bawling her eyes out. And then Pastor Jeff notices her as he's trying to get out the car because he's back from the whole situation. And he basically tells her that he's going to get Rashida so that they can talk. Pastor Jeff goes in the house, he sits in the kitchen and he talks to Rashida, but she notices that something's wrong with it. She tries to talk to him, but he's like, nah. Go worry about Geneva because Geneva's outside right now, and then we'll talk about us later. So Rashida goes out there to talk to Geneva, and Geneva basically tells her that Anika fell and they had to go to the hospital and they had to give her a blood transfusion, and William is not Anika's father. And Rashida's like, well, does William know? Geneva's like, yeah, and he knows the truth, and I tried to lie about the IVF. Rashida's like, you can't lie no more, just tell the man the truth. Geneva is so concerned about breaking this man's heart, but she wasn't concerned about breaking this man's heart when she was busting it open for Javon now, was she? Rashida just keeps telling Geneva that William deserves to know the truth, and Geneva's like, I don't know what to do. Geneva, just tell the man the truth and stand in it. If you was standing in it when you was messing with Javon, so stand in it now when it comes to your child. As they're talking, Rashida gets a call from Tiffany, but she doesn't answer the phone because she's sitting there with Geneva. And she's like, I'll call her back. That's when Geneva gets an alert on her phone and she picks it up and she's like, so they're sleeping together? This is a whole big mess and I can't wait to see how it plays out because a lot of people are going to end up hurt, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally. But let me know what you guys think about this episode. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, turn on your bell notifications. Bye!